Well, I say let's get this party started. How about that?
Sounds good.
So let's go around and do introductions, and let's start with the doctors. Pick a doctor and go there. Miss Dr. Burke or Dr. Chinn, you start us off.
I'm Perry Chinn. Out here in Montana now in the wilderness, have had an interest in nitric oxide for a few years now, and have played around with a formulation or two, and has, of course, has helped providing care to my patients and understanding more about the physiology of what the science does and how it can help people.
My name is Tom Burke, and I've been involved with nitric oxide since about 1992. During my work at the University of Colorado Medical School, I joined Kiani around 2008 and tried to explain to them how their products were working to enhance the production of nitric oxide. And I still do that.
Go, Diana.
I'm Diana D. Diana D'Elia. D's a radio name. And I live in Lubbock, Texas. I'm retired. And I've been interested in all kinds of health since 1978 and studied and researched. I do not have any credentials.
Nice.
Just 30 years of media around health and beauty, that's all.
Yeah, I did do health news on radio and television, so I had to do a lot of research. But that's the best I can say about having any credentials.
Okay, Dan and Mary Louise, you guys go next.
Did you just, I was talking to my wife, did you just say me, Sandy?
I did.
Okay, well, my greatest accomplishment is to have befriended those of you on this call. I've been involved in nutritional supplements, herbal supplements, holistic approaches to healthcare from the marketing side since 1994. And my biggest claim to fame is that I've been privileged enough to work with great people and move a few $100 million worth of this stuff around the world. I've had the privilege to work with Tom, have him get me on the straight and narrow of how to analyze data clear back with another company called Synergy. And then when I came to Kiani, I had the privilege to work with him here, and had the privilege to work with different doctors and scientists around the world with regards to nitric oxide, which I've been involved with going back to about 2000, 2001.
Okay, I'm Mary Louise Zeller. My background, science as a biologist and sports, as a 6th degree black belt in Olympic sport Taekwondo. And I've been with Kiani since 2007 and actually 2008. And I'm a red diamond with Kiani. I knew nothing about marketing and sales, given I was science and sports, but I've been doing a lot of on-the-job training like Diana and very passionate about these products that really make a life-changing difference in performance and health and aging differently. So given that I'm 78, and by the way, Dr. Burke, hey, fairy tales are for 70s also. So, you know, I've just been blessed. I live in Salt Lake City and McCall, Idaho, and St. Simons Island, Georgia, which is where I'm right now for our wedding on Sunday. And I love you all, and I am privileged and very blessed to be friends and partners with you.
Well,
Serenity.
I'll go next, and then I'm gonna let Serenity start telling us what she's doing. So, you know, there are times in the history where the way where you're sitting is just marked for your destiny. And to love Kayani and then to run into Mary Louise and then be at this moment in time with the skills I have, which is mostly marketing and messaging and product positioning and websites and all of that guru stuff. I'm really just thrilled to be acquainted with such incredible people, and this is the moment. So Serenity, tell us about you. She is our first affiliate partner, and so tell us about you and what you're up to.
Yeah, good morning, y'all. I'm not sure that I've actually earned the right to sit at this table yet, but my name is Serenity Harris. I'm an entrepreneur, business owner. I am a 3rd degree black belt in a system called Goju Kempo. Been doing that for more than 20 years. And so long-term interest in the health and fitness that comes with being, you know, an athlete with functional movement, you know, not just pretty in the gym, but a body that, you know, performs a specific task. And then have recently opened a business for red light therapy treatment. And so the way that that can help people change their life, you know, the aches and pains that come from abusing our bodies as martial artists kind of triggered that. But then just all of the ways that red light therapy can help with, you know, the mental side of weight loss and, you know, the physical side that comes with weight loss and all of the other benefits of red light therapy. And then got reconnected with Sandy after 5 or 6 years when I was looking for something to offer to our people that would help them feel better kind of from the inside out with the supplements that Kayani provides. And so I don't have all the accolades that y'all can provide here, but just a passion and an excitement for the way that these two things, the Kayani side of things and the red light therapy, can help the athletes and the people that I come in, you know, and encounter with every day. So I'm just excited to be here.
Serenity, I just wanted to say how important you are to this whole project. We've worked on this affiliate program for 2 years. When the company made customer volume the same as distributor volume in the monthly commissions program, as well as offering bonuses and the wholesale to retail markup, I saw a whole new market. And we began to work on a presentation and structure and numbers. And so I'm just so thankful for you, the level of professionality that you are as a business owner and as a human being. And so I'm just really privileged to develop this project with you. And it literally, I think, could explode into a whole new way of doing business and actually change the industry. So for me, this is groundbreaking, life-changing for all of us. So thank you.
Well, and
Trust me, it's my
Diane and I were on the radio together years ago, and she was a health nut and I wasn't. And now here I'm in Kayani where we're talking about aging differently. And then I'm doing the red light therapy, and in 5 visits, I've lost like 7 inches and 7 pounds. And so when I was Googling nitric oxide and red light therapy, who would show up in my world? But this man I already respect and appreciate, Dr. Burke. I'm like, Dr. Burke is on a video on Google. So he's been so kind to just be responsive. And so Dr. Burke, I'd like for you to just sort of tell us how to tell red light therapy people what these products can do for them and why the match is so good. So if you'll hop in, that would be great. And then Dr. Perry Chinn will follow him. And then I want Dr. Chinn, I want you to do the same thing with chiropractors. How can we help Diana help her chiropractor add the Kayani products? So that's kind of where we're going, just as an educational source. And thank you both so much for being generous human beings that will just take your time to join a Zoom meeting so that we can help patients around the world feel better. It's just amazing. So Dr. Burke, if you'll start, I'd really appreciate it.
Well, the basic effect of red light therapy as simple as this. It releases nitric oxide from human red blood cells at the site that you treat. So when you place a pad on someone's stomach or neck or knee or ankle, Achilles tendon area, the red blood cells flowing through the vessels underneath your skin at that site will release nitric oxide from red blood cells, which carry nitric oxide.
Dr. Burke, I have a question. So, yeah, I watched your video and thank you. I did not know that previously. So I know that nitric oxide actually does help reduce pain in the human body. How does that, what's the action? What's the source of that? Given that it's pulling the nitric oxide from the red blood cells, the red light therapy. So you've got NO and red light therapy, and red light therapy reduces pain too, right, Serenity? Why?
Serenity, say yes or no.
Oh, yes. From what we've been given, again, I don't have the science behind it, but from the information that we were given from the manufacturer, yes, it does. It is FDA cleared for temporary pain reduction at the site of treatment. It sounds like they don't give us the history. I'm sorry, not the history, but the medical information, but it sounds like it could be a correlation to the nitric oxide release.
That's very important, because if you have a documentation that your device reduces pain and it's been cleared by the FDA in their report to the Contour company, that they're able to make that statement, then you're on very solid grounds. Now, as far as the mechanism goes, Mary Louise, my cousin is named Mary Lou. The mechanism is pretty simple. Pain is usually an effect of a lack of oxygen. In other words, when you stub your toe or hit your finger with a hammer, the pain that occurs at that site is due to some degree of swelling and inflammation that's cutting off the capillary circulation to the nerves. So with red light therapy, able to increase blood flow at the site of treatment, that reduces the ischemic pain, if you will, and that's the mechanism by which red light therapy and infrared reduce pain.
Interesting.
Is
Thank
that
you for that information.
Is that simple
great.
enough?
That's totally simple. I get it.
I have a question, Dr. Burke. I am taking nitro and actually the Triangle of Health and HL5 and Restore. And when I do a red light therapy treatment, it's affecting the belly where the pad is. But what do the products of Kyani do to enhance that scenario?
First of all, you need to get a source of nitric oxide into your body so that the red light therapy can start its process of affecting blood flow. Kyani's products, the Triangle of Health and several others, contain something called nitrates and nitrites. Those are things that you'll find in spinach and broccoli and leafy green vegetables. Nitric oxide is released by nitrates and nitrites, and therefore it's picked up by red blood cells in the intestines and stomach and carried to all parts of the body. So when you treat yourself with those Kyani products that you talked about, those products are providing the nitrates, which then turn into nitric oxide, and is picked up by red cells and carried to all parts of the body.
I have another question, and that is, somebody will say, oh, I do exercise to stimulate my nitric oxide, or I take another product to stimulate nitric oxide. What makes Kyani's products superior? And I guess you deem them to be superior.
Well, I don't know what other products you're talking about, but when people exercise, they're absolutely increasing their endogenous native production of nitric oxide. And the reason is as follows. When you exercise, muscles contract and relax. When they contract, they'll shut down circulation temporarily. And then when they relax, blood flow increases at the muscle site that is actively working. So when you exercise, this contraction followed by relaxation is a sign where there's a temporary reduction in blood flow, contraction, and then an enhancement in blood flow with relaxation. That process, which is called shear stress in blood vessels, activates the endothelial cells to produce nitric oxide.
Anybody else have questions? Yeah.
Yeah, in answer to your question, and Dr. Burke, correct me if I'm wrong. Like I know that, well, way back in the day when I was competing, I took an L-arginine product that has been proven in real science to increase nitric oxide production in the body. My experience of using the two, our Kyani NitroFX and Nitro Extreme is a different pathway than the L-arginine product, which has to go through the digestive process, and it takes some hours to produce a little bit of nitric oxide. But the Kyani products are plant-based nitrites and nitrates that are reduced, like Dr. Burke said, in the body to nitric oxide. But it's instantaneous, almost like within a minute, and much higher levels. So I would have called the L-arginine a first generation of a nitric oxide precursor, and the Kyani's plant-based nitrites, nitrates reduced into nitric oxide very quickly in the body, which then gets recycled for about 4 hours. And as I understand it too, Dr. Burke, correct me if I'm wrong, but the red light therapy might increase recycling of nitric oxide in the body, and nitric oxide probably increases the effectiveness of the red light therapy. Is that accurate thinking?
I'm not sure exactly where you're going with this, but you're right.
Sandy just asked about other products, and for me, the biggest difference is the amount of nitric oxide produced very quickly by the second generation of plant nitrites nitrate pathway. And the other thing that I learned from reading online on NIH, the National Institute of Health site, is that older people cannot use the L-arginine pathway as well anymore after the age of 60, and that does not apply to the plant nitrite nitrate pathway of producing nitric oxide. But I like the effect that if you're doing red light therapy, you need an immediate response, not hours later, or take something several hours before the treatment. You want something, even for chiropractic, that's going to work instantaneously to increase blood flow, and that's what our product does. So I was making a distinction when Sandy mentioned other products. For me, the other products would be other formulations like the L-arginine pathway, which for me is not as effective, not as immediate, and especially for older people.
Well, as we get older, our diet tends to change. So you got to think about L-arginine being metabolized to nitric oxide, but it needs cofactors. It needs something called tetrahydrobiopterin, or THB4. It needs magnesium, and it needs an adequate supply of oxygen. So there are several things that compromise, if you will, as we get older, the ability of L-arginine to be converted into nitric oxide independent of time. That's just the process. You're absolutely right. L-arginine was the starting point, if you will, for this whole industry that's supported now by 155,000 papers on nitric oxide. It works everywhere from your head to your toe, from your nose to your toes, from your ears to your brain, to your gut, to your ovaries, to your uterus, to your penis. Every organ needs blood flow to adequately sustain its activity. And nitric oxide is the way to get that.
You know, something, Tom, that you said that is new to me, and I've been around a long time as a layperson, and I didn't quite catch it. I'm taking notes here. I knew that if you didn't have adequate oxygenation in the blood, that would be very difficult to create the nitric oxide synthase process. And I knew you had
the
magnesium.
synthase is there, Dan. You just need oxygen to habitate it along with magnesium and tetrahydrobiopterin.
That's the word I was looking for. Can you help me with that word? Can you spell it?
I think what Dan's trying to remind us all is that just like in aviation, the human body works best because it has multiple systems that centered around redundancy and support for each other. And the L-arginine, the enos-based system, is oxygen dependent, and it requires, a 5-step electron transfer process that is more complicated and more involved, where the nitrate-nitrite system with, the circulation through the salivary system is basically anaerobic. It doesn't require oxygen. It doesn't require so many steps in electron transfer. But that doesn't mean it replaces what we still consider the primary system, which is the arginine system. It just enhances it, picks up the slack as needed. And another thing is this whole system, whether it's the enos system or the nitrate system, they're very smart. They're very intelligent. They are appropriate to the site where they're needed. The nitric oxide will be oxidated back up into the substrates of nitrate when they're not needed, and they're effectively moved out of the way. Remembering nitric oxide is a free radical. If you have too much nitric oxide at a site, it starts acting like one of the more dangerous radicals, like superoxide, or even on into peroxynitrite. These are very caustic, very reactive molecules that will tear down the physiological process. So again, it's very smart. It's site, appropriate to the site, appropriate to the need, and that's my point.
That's an excellent point. And for those of you who go out and try to keep this this business proposition going, you might get asked about that, about peroxynitrite and too much nitric oxide. The dietary system of Chiani does not produce excessive amounts of nitric oxide.
Well,
Serenity,
if
go ahead.
there's any level of intelligence in the body, it can't, because of all the governing systems, the feedback systems that are so intelligently in place to make sure that the application of this molecule is appropriate. It's the cool thing about nitric oxide, it just takes a minuscule amount. We take in about 14-15 grams of nitrogen, dietary nitrogen in the form of nitrate in our diet every day, and only like one, Dr. Burke, correct me if I'm wrong, just 1 or 2 nanomolar concentration levels of nitric oxide is enough to create this physiological effect. It's staggering in how it works, and it's staggering in its scope of function. In a lot of ways, we really don't understand. And falling back on and reminding our clients, our customers, our patients of the incredible intelligence of the body if we remove the impediments to the exercise of that intelligence is what it's all about. And remember, the half-life of nitric oxide is milliseconds, a second or two at the most.
Okay.
So it is only created on demand, and it has to be the right conditions, and it will be upcycled or oxidated back up into the substrate nitrate when it's not needed, to basically take it out of the way so that the toxic effects of that free radical aren't experienced by the cells in that area.
And that
Thank you.
nitrite that has just been recycled is peed away in the urine. So you can't get hurt by red light therapy or nitric oxide in the appropriate amounts.
Yeah, so it's either converted by the kidneys into urea and excreted, or it can be stored in the muscles. It's stored in the skin and can be activated by sunlight. It's there are just so many different redundancies and pathways and reservoir systems to make sure that the ingredients, when needed, are available. So it's important for us to have exercise and good circulation, proper diet, and everything to support those reservoir systems, so that when that NO molecule is needed, it is there, and in the appropriate, either as nitric oxide, again, which is so short-lived, but more appropriately in the carriers in the systems.
Well, I think we're beginning to see how much education is possible, which is what this is the beginning of, is an educational program to support, our affiliates helping educate their clients. So Dr. Burke, I'd like to ask you just one last question, and then if you would summarize, is there something valuable to know about how close to the red light therapy and how long in the red light therapy? And then if you'd summarize by confirming or not, Kyani products help red light therapy act faster and stay more effective longer.
All right, as far as this first question goes, the companies that I have worked with in the past using red light therapy were all able to touch the skin at the site of treatment. You didn't have to be 2 inches or 4 inches away. They were safe and cleared by the FDA for that purpose. We found that somewhere between 20 and 40 minutes, depending on the issue you're trying to treat, is sufficient to get an effect mediated through nitric oxide, which will last about 4 to 6 hours. Did I answer both questions?
You did. And would it be safe to say then for a red light therapy practitioner that Kyani products would actually help the therapy work faster and be more effective for longer?
I'm not going there.
Okay,
The compliance people at Kyani would
I got
have
it.
back if I said anything related to that.
Okay,
Well, the very most simplest definition of chiropractic is the practice of using your hands in a healthcare delivery. So using our hands, meaning the diagnosis or the identification of the spinal lesion, which we call the subluxation. In the medical terms, the subluxation is a small dislocation or a misalignment of bones that isn't as bad as a dislocation. But the chiropractic term means inherently, yes, it's a misalignment of bones, but even more importantly, and this is where the impact, and this is where the distinct field of doctor chiropractic comes in, is how the disrelationship of structure can interfere with nerve function. And that is what chiropractic is. Many chiropractors like Diana and yourself and I talked about the other day, will incorporate many different applications of chiropractic, and including many different therapies, whether it's laser or red light therapy or ultrasound or on and on and on. But the core issue, the core purpose of chiropractic is identifying and removing interference to nerve function, period. Okay. The core anatomical unit of integrity in that process is the spinal disc and how that relates to interference with nerve function. That disc survives at a cellular level because it has proper movement, proper nutrition, and proper circulation. That microcirculation to the disc, there's only a couple areas of the body that really don't have serving capillaries. There is no direct to the cell circulation to that tissue, and one of those is the interior of the intervertebral disc. So the integrity of that vertebra staying in proper alignment so it doesn't interfere with nerve function depends on nutritional molecules getting to those cells. That involves circulation. In the spinal disc, that circulation basically stops at the edge of the vertebra, what's called the end plate. And the end plate is very vascularized. But the experts say that as much as an inch of space can be between that serving capillary and the cell. The only way those large nutritional molecules, which are very long carbon chains, can get there is through mechanical convection or movement, concentration gradients coupled with proper movement. When the vertebra becomes misaligned and swelling occurs and the body reacts and protects it by restricting motion, what we call a subluxation, that will interfere with that process that keeps that disc healthy, keeps it circulated, keeps the nutrition there. And the further degradation of that, what we call the motor unit or the two vertebrae with an intervening disc, further degradation of that tissue will eventually lead, and often eventually leads, to interference with nerve function. So maintaining that disc is primary important. So the combination of specific targeted chiropractic care to the involved disc with specific targeted nutrition to provide nutrition to the cells of that disc so they can repair and have the resilience and movable strength to withstand stress, those two together are vital for a positive outcome. And that in a rather long-winded nutshell is how chiropractic and targeted nutrition come together. So how Kyani products provide that, especially if you're talking about nitric oxide, we can talk about the tocotrienols and we can talk about the antioxidants and everything else. But if we're just limiting, at least at this point, the conversation to the production of nitric oxide, that is what ensures the patency, the ability of those little tiny capillaries to carry the oxygen, to carry the nutrition. And also the other side of the metabolism is the toxic end products or the waste products like lactic acid being moved out of a muscle. You have to have the products of metabolism have to be removed and discarded as well. And that requires that circulation too. So what excites me is sharing this information with my profession, especially as a whole, to remind them of the importance of that. Too often, too many of our practitioners get sidetracked with other things that maybe have a better economic bottom line. So if we can share the importance of this, along with, as being an affiliate, the potential for a positive economic outcome as well. You know, it's a win-win. 90+% of the benefits of what we do are probably technically not supported by at least the scientific version of the insurance industry and what they provide. So,
Well, if you look up vibration, nitric oxide on the Google, you will find that vibration enhances the production of nitric oxide. So you got a double-barreled effect on your subjects, on your patients, from using both of them together at the same or nearly the same time. It's fantastic. I love vibration. Well, there's extra benefits from vibration that are not necessarily mediated through nitric oxide. It's the muscle contraction and relaxation, the movement, that brings other nutrients, vitamins, hormones to muscle groups, which are important for health and fitness.
You know, Dr. Chinn, one thing you said the other day that really opened my eyes about chiropractic is when you were talking about how people approach care when a symptom occurs versus wellness before the point of symptom. Would you just say something about that? Because I think our products really do address wellness from a more holistic standpoint.
well, a simple, maybe crude analogy is, you know, do we wait till the bearings go bad in our engine and the knocking noise in the engine is super loud before we change the oil? No. Most people would say no. No, it's about prevention. That being said, like I said the other day, is we live primarily in a symptom-oriented society, fear-based society. So a lot of times there isn't an incentive to change or motivate behavior unless there's pain or there's a pleasure reward initiating. Or preventative wellness, functional medicine, preventative chiropractic care, whatever you want to call it, is something that has to be explained, and it's a simple concept. When most people understand that and get that concept, they can see the wisdom in it. That being said, I think you all know Bruce Lipton or have heard of him. And first time I experienced him, I think it was 2001 at a seminar, and he got up to speak, and he was very engaging. And I'm pretty sure it was Bruce, but anyway, he asked for a show of hands in the audience, thousands of people in the audience, and said, how many of you know that it's important to floss your teeth? Everybody raised their hand. Then he asked, how many of you regularly floss your teeth every day? And maybe 4 people raised their hand. I mean, it was very tiny at that time. And he said, well, that's interesting. We know it's important for wellness, for dental wellness especially. We know it works. We know the reasons why we should do it, yet we don't do it. And, you know, the same can be said for exercise, for proper whole food nutrition, for intelligent supplementary nutrition, or chiropractic care, or anything that is preventative. So the trick, I guess, so to speak, is motivating people, or not so much motivating, because it basically has to be a self-motivation, but educating people to the point where they will self-motivate to put 2 and 2 together and realize, hey, why don't I make sure things work before the wheels fall off the wagon? If everybody stood up suddenly right now, what keeps you from passing out? It's the function and balance of the dilation and constriction of the blood vessels. It's mediated by nitric oxide and the chemical factors and mechanical factors related to that, but it's also mediated by the nervous system, the parasympathetic, sympathetic balance. There's many factors. So I would say, Dan, if I were to answer that question, I would say no, hypoxia is not necessary. It's one of the primary factors. And Dr. Tom, I don't know, you might have a better way of putting that.
When you have pain and no oxygen, the nerves can't produce ATP, right? Mitochondria produce ATP in the absence of oxygen, you know, in a regular manner. What is the consequence? It means that the sodium potassium pumps no longer work effectively. When you use red light therapy to release nitric oxide from red cells in the neighborhood of that particular problem, nitric oxide really causes an increase in oxygen delivery to that area. The sodium potassium pumps start to work again because the mitochondria in the cells are now able to use oxygen to make ATP, oxygen and glucose. So do you need hypoxia? Is under conditions of hypoxia, will nitric oxide still work? Absolutely, if you use the right tool to get the blood flow in that area and the hypoxia reversed.
If as a PT, I'm looking at trying to build my practice, and one of the ways to do that is to get good results, including red light therapy, which is the way that I view it, a topical precursor that would be localized. And jump in and correct me anytime you think I'm wrong. That is important, but supporting it systemically with the precursors, if you will, is a much stronger adjunct or additive or catalyst, not catalyst, but co-assisting.
Well,
we're just supporting it
nutritionally. And when that patient is discharged, encourage them to contact Kiani or some other supplement company to continue this pathway of wellness that they started on in the PT office.
But if we can get 300 of those Contour Light people to recommend Kiani products for the wellness of their patients, it's a good start. I mean, we're actually looking at starting a wellness program that includes our products. So Mary Louise, will you just tell us what your vision has been for this? And are we on the right track?
Well, what I'm about, I mean, being 78 years old and wanting to stay well and active and productive in life, the Kiani Triangle of Health has actually given me an edge. I'm aging differently, and I've been at it 15 years. So that's who I am. It's not just what I do. So, you know, what I want for people is that kind of wellness throughout life, that kind of high performance, that kind of aging well. You know, so any way we spread it. Now, you know, Kiani is what's labeled as a network marketing company. This affiliate program is how to do network marketing without doing network marketing. And what do I mean by that? I mean that, like, if you take these businesses that meet the public, our products are marriage made in heaven. It's a great companion. Each of the therapies enhance each other. So it's a mutual benefit program. And, you know, so these companies all suffered in the pandemic. So for a couple of years, their incomes went down. In fact, you know, Sandy, you've done the statistics. Many of them closed, like 30% have never reopened. So they're going to make more money, not only for their clients, but the families of the clients, the friends of the clients. If it works for them, they're going to say, oh man, you've got to do this. And you're going to reach a lot of people. You're going to, you know, we've proven with the numbers, and I researched the numbers countless hours. I couldn't begin to count the hours we spent in the our calculator, our Paygate calculator in the back office. Now, can we guarantee these numbers? Of course we can't, but we can say, hey, these are researched and they're actually quite accurate of what's predictable for these companies. So if you tell a company, when you recommend these products, as you grow each month, let's say 6 months, you've got 100 clients taking these products, you can increase, and we showed the numbers, $6,000 to $8,000 of income a month Now,
We're getting some real feedback. Somebody's got background noise.
so if it works for your business, say Serenity finds this to be true, 6 months down the road, she's got about 100 clients. They love the products. They're recommending them to their parents, their children, blah, 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 like that. And people are getting results they love and they're sharing the products. If it works for her business, if Serenity tells somebody she knows in the same business, or a chiropractor to a chiropractor, wow, this supplement program really complements the business I'm in and my patients love it. And, you know, you ought to take a look at this program. We come in and do a presentation and that person engages in the program. All of that volume would go under the recommender. And so not only they're making that extra income that continues to grow for years, they will be making commissions on volumes produced in other businesses too. So it's, I mean, I just saw the possibility. We went to work on it and now we're proving the model. What there is to do, we've got all the numbers, we've got all the presentations, we've got all the materials and our products work, and we're proving that it actually works in the field. When you prove that model, I mean, how many businesses are out there? And much less salons, much less gyms, martial arts schools, you know, whatever. And, you know, which is why a martial arts school is using red light therapy, because it helps performance and relieves the damage done by the intense exercise. So I think the potential of this program is huge. And I think we have a sacred responsibility, a blessed responsibility to really prove that this works.
With regards to red light therapy, what is the, I don't know if you'd even use the word half-life, but what is the residual effect of the benefit of red light therapy for how long?
As I said before, a 20 to 40 minute treatment at a particular site will enhance the blood flow at that site for 4 to 6 hours.
Yes, that is what I thought I heard you say, but I didn't get my note written correctly. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The the benefit
Well,
I saw.
I have background noises you can hear in this downtown of Madison, Georgia, on my way to Mary Louise's wedding. But for the person that asked you all to join us, I want you to know how significant it is that you're here. There's nobody here that's not important. Mary Louise and I can dream all we want, but if I can't give Serenity the education she needs to give to her clients, then we're just in our own little bubble. So it's a beginning. I couldn't thank you enough. And it's just a start. So everybody's important and I appreciate your being here. So I'm just going to end our call. If you want to hang out and visit, feel free to do that. I'm on my way to a wedding.
Bye-bye.
And I'm helping put it together.
Well, congratulations.
Congratulations,
I love
Mary
you
Louise.
guys.
Congratulations.
Bye, you guys.
Bye-bye.
Who in the company right now is the right person? Is it Andrew?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Andrew would be the point person to talk to on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Before you jump off the ship, you and Mary Louise have to figure out what you're going to say to Andrew and couch it in the appropriate terms. I don't want any one of you going to Andrew Mangeris by yourselves until you figured out what your team is going to be saying to him. Just a suggestion.